and I wish to welcome all the stakeholders that have just arrived. We are going to start briefly, and we'll start with the word of prayer. I request Madam Monica from Soisambo Conservancy to start with the word of prayer for us.
Let's pray. Mighty and everlasting Father, I want to thank you and I want to bless you for this day that you have given us. Thank you for blessing us with the breath of life. Thank you, dear Lord, for converging us together as stakeholders for the hospitality industry that you have called us for, oh God. As we deliberate about the issues that we are facing as an industry, oh Jehovah God, we ask for your wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Help us, O Jehovah God, that we will be faithful stewards in the work that you have given us. In Jesus' name we do pray as we believe.
Thank you, Madam Monica. Members, I think the last time we met we were not a city. Now that we are a city, I think we have a lot of things that we can discuss and share. So the next item is, I request the next item is reading of the notice, which I request Madam Stella Karanja of Kivu Resort to read for us.
Notice is hereby given that there will be a special general meeting of the Nakuru County Tourism Association on the 24th of April 2023 at Sarova Woodlands from 2:30 p.m.
Thank you, Madam Stella. The next item is introductions. We want to run very quickly. Let me have the privilege of starting from you. Just tell us your names and the establishment that you're coming from, the organization that you are representing.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jenny Gidambo. I'm coming from Rift Valley Sports Club.
Good afternoon, everyone. My names are Ruth Njuroge, Dominion Castle Hotel, and also Rama Heights Hotel. Thank you.
Karibu Ruth.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Shadrach Yegon from Naivasha Kongoni Lodge.
Karibu Kongoni.
Monica Njeri, Soisambo Conservancy.
Afternoon, everyone. My name is Alphonse Ayado from Serena Hotels, Lake Elementator.
Karibu Serena.
Good afternoon. My name is Peter Korosian from Kongoni Lodge.
Karibu Kongoni.
Good afternoon, all. James Mokaya, Origin Coffee.
Good afternoon, everyone. Beulah from the Oleken Hotel.
Good afternoon. My name is Josiah Nyachio from the Alps Hotel Nakuru.
Good afternoon. My name is Andrew Njenga from Vienna Woods Holiday Inn Hotel.
Baraka Ebenezer from Shomut Apartments.
Shomut Apartments.
Donald Chipensi from Sarava Woodland Hotel.
That is the host.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Cornelius Kirwa, America Hotel.
My name is Stephen Gashio from Hotel Consultants.
Good afternoon. I'm Titus from Leo Trips.
Good afternoon. John Kiari from Tidis.
Good afternoon. Oliver Okuku, Lake Pogoda Spa Group.
Good afternoon. Peter Kamau from Centrim Elementator.
Good afternoon, all. Pius Maratani, Kivu Resort. Thank you.
Jeremiah Olenchoy, Hillcourt Resort and Spa.
Good afternoon. Norman from Eagle Palace Hotel.
Francis Njoa from HPAS Global.
I'm Jambo, Ambassador Matibo from Lanet Mart Farm Resort.
I'm Jambo Nyote. I'm Moses Gitongu from Grad Winston Hotel.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Peter Kinyanjui from Lake Nakuru Flamingo Lodge.
Good afternoon. My name is Peter Kemani Gitao, and I'm from the
Naivasha Tourism Association, which is part of the Nakuru County Tourism Association, and I'm also with Sawela Lodges. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Stella Karanja, Director, Kivu Resort, and also the Secretary of the Nakuru County Tourism Association.
Good afternoon, David Mwangi, Chairman, Nakuru County Tourism Association.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Duncan Maina Mwangi. I'm the General Manager of Sarava Woodrats. Karibuni.
Asante sana bwana GM. We are here courtesy of your hospitality. Karibuni. Kuna nafasi pande hii. As you sit down, nitakupatia mic tusalamie, utuambie umetoka kwa organization gani. Karibu.
Good afternoon. My name is Peter Kamundia, Director General Stores.
Good afternoon. My name is Jacinta Empolos Hotel.
Good afternoon.
My name is Phyllis, GM Empolos Hotel.
Thank you so much. I think we have the agenda, and number one is the association status and future plans. The second one is communication from Salary Remuneration Commission on daily subsistence allowance, better known as by TM restructuring. And then I think item number 3 is status and future of the maize tourism in Nakuru County. So at this juncture, I want to invite our chairman, David Mwangi, to come and run the rest of the program. Kabu Chairman.
Thank you so much, Bwana Koech. Let us appreciate Bwana Koech. I want to take this opportunity to welcome you to our special general meeting, which is happening here at Sarava Woodlands. And on the onset, I want to thank Sarava Woodlands for your kindness and your hospitality. As we have always said in the association, we are the champion of social capital, where we thrive on support from our members. And today we are here hosted by Sarava Woodlands on a compliment. And that's why we need to appreciate Sarava Woodlands for buying into the vision of bringing together the hospitality and the tourism sector. Secondly, I want to thank all of you that have taken time to be with us here today. I know it's not ordinary that you find directors, general managers, and team leaders find time to gather together. Sometimes you can call people and you don't find them. So I don't take it for granted that you have heeded our call, and here you are to discuss with us the agenda of the day. On behalf of the Nakuru County Tourism Association, I want you to feel welcome, even as we go through the agendas. I know we were delayed because we were waiting for a good quorum so that we can start, because it's a very short meeting. It's a very short meeting, and many people are saying they are still on the way, they are still on the way. That's why we even passed the 2:30 mark. Kano Itongo, I know you are you are a disciplined man. Kano Itongo came here early because him and Ambassador Matibo, who is also a retired disciplined man, when they hear of 2:30, and I think we mentioned 2, they came here early. So apologies for that 30 minutes delay in starting the program. But on the onset, I want to say we celebrated 10 years of existence as Nakuru County Tourism Association in August last year. And we have been able to conquer hills and valleys in this sector. And this is a time where we always sit together and reflect on how the industry is. When we came into existence in 2012, the industry was fragmented, scattered, and what existed then was only competition. But we came together to redefine this sector by bringing complementation more than competition. And that's why we are seated here, coming from different facilities, which are different in nature, and sitting together. Bonapatrick, you can just sit here. There's also another seat here. There's a seat here. Karibut. There's a seat here. So as I'm saying, we've been able to go around and look at challenges that come. We look back how we've been able to face those challenges. And many a times we have compliments, not just from ourselves, but even from the society out there. So we can't complain that we have come together in many occasions. And every time we sit like we are sitting here, we always have one voice, and we always come with a solution. So the reason why we are here today is, first of all, to bond and network. It has been a long time since we met. And Monica, you will bear witness that at times we used even to go. We started in Elementaita Serena. That's where we started on the 6th of August, 2012. And when we don't meet, at times there is some disconnect in the way we have always related. And that's why, number one, we meet to bond and network, just to share ideas, compare notes on how we are faring in this industry, individually and also collectively. And then we have the agenda of today, as Bwana Koech has read it out. And some of these agendas, there are some agendas that come and they require just a small group of people to meet, discuss, and find a way forward. But the agenda for this particular meeting, especially agenda in that letter that I sent, agenda number 2 and agenda number 3. Agenda number 2 and agenda number 3 made us come together and reason together, because they are beyond a small group of people discussing and coming up with a solution. We want to hear different minds, because it is an agenda that can be looked at in different ways. So we want to come up and come out of this place with what we call the greater good for the greater number. So let's discuss those agendas. When we get to number 2 and number 3, let's discuss them from the bottom of our heart, with a lot of openness, with a lot of interest, especially in matters that you don't understand. Listen so that you understand it. I'm saying this because I spoke to someone who is here yesterday, and the person was not even coming for this meeting. But when they got the content of that agenda, that's why they are here. So understand so that you can be informed. And I want to say that because when there was an issue with introduction of bed levy, I don't know whether we have someone here from Menashibai. When there was an issue with introduction of bed levy, and that's some times back, I personally tried to whip people. Dixon is there. We went to Enashipai for the last meeting on bed levy. Bed levy was pegged at 250 per bed per month. Then we were able to convince them in our small way to move it from bed to room. Because at times you find a hotel of 100 rooms with almost 200 beds. So we managed to wrestle, and they agreed to move it now from bed to room. Then we went to the next battle, if you cannot do away with it, can you reduce it from this 250 to something like 50 shillings per room per month? But we were wrestled out, and we managed to convince them to bring it to 120. That's why if you go to the act of the county assembly of Nakuru, the bed levy is officially a legal thing. 120 per month per room. It is there. We came to the next battle. Flags. You know these flags that we put on that at our entrances. They were charging, including Kenyan flag. They were charging some amount, up to 250 shillings per flag. And people like Tides, I don't know whether we have someone from Tides here. People like Tides, they had so many flags. They had to bring them down, all of them. And we went to the county government. They constituted a committee that was headed by one Mr. Dunda. And it is that committee that agreed we need to suspend the implementation of this flag levy, especially Kenyan flag, East African flag, and the others. And that's why right now it is still there in the act, it is there in the law, but they deferred the implementation because we lobbied. And as you know, in Nakuru County Tourism Association, we have only 3 mandates. That's why sometimes we don't involve ourselves in other things that don't fall within our mandate. Our mandate number 1 is marketing. We market Nakuru as the destination, the tourism destination of choice. The second one is capacity building. We work closely with those people who enable growth of capacity. And that's how we have, for the last 8 years, collaborated with Kenya Utalii College to do refresher courses. And we are very grateful that this year, for the first time, we were able to host them in Naivasha. And next year, we are in talks with Kenya Utalii College to have now those ones in Naivasha and another set in Nakuru, so that we can get 8 courses. And then the last one is advocacy, which is why we are here today. This is an advocacy role, to fight for the rights of the minority, those who cannot speak for themselves. We have suffered in the past because many a times directors don't come for meetings. When we call for meetings, directors don't come. There's a meeting we went to, and we looked at the caliber of people that were sent there. We said, okay, there's nothing we can discuss, because we even had the media. And what the media do, they normally ask you from which facility, which is your position. So we said, okay, we might embarrass ourselves when we want to articulate an important issue that will go on national television, and the people who are supposed to articulate are those who hurt most, who are not in that meeting. And with those many remarks, I want to welcome Bwana Koech to take us through the agenda number 1, which is the association status and the future plans we have. As I said, this meeting is meant to last for 1 hour, and then we'll open to question and answers. Thank you so much.
Can you clap for chairman? So basically, for some of us who travel a lot to consultancy, Nakuru is a very unique facility, county. I have gone to many, and we stand out. Nakuru is central. If you're in Nakuru, you want to go to Eldoret, it's about 160 kilometers. If you're in Nakuru, you want to go to Nairobi, 160. If you're in Nakuru, you want to go to Nyeri, same distance, 160. So basically, why visit Nakuru? It is very ideal. Even in terms of revenue, I think Nakuru is about 4th. Nairobi, Mombasa, I think Kiambu, and then Nakuru. It contributes about 6.9% of the GDP. So it's a very ideal. We are very lucky. That's the map of Nakuru County. This is Naivasha. For those who have Kimadikitao, you are somewhere here. So this is Gilgil, that is Njoro, Olenguruoni, Rongai, Bahati, Bokoini. So this is basically the map of Nakuru County. And as I said, equidistance. It is centrally located. Almost from here to Kisumu is 198, Kericho is 100, Nyandarua is very close, 50. So basically, we are central. So we also lie, and our temperatures is not very high. In fact, about 10% of the food that is consumed in Kenya is grown in Nakuru County. Our temperatures are very favorable, between about 12 to about 30 or 31. So you can get a lot of. Nakuru has been on for long. In fact, Nakuru became a town in 1904. 1904. It became a municipality in 1967. Became a city on 1st of December 2021. So basically, we are lucky that we are here in Nakuru. The facility that we have here is quite, and we have quite a lot of things that are coming up. The airport, I think, is almost complete. There are a lot of things happening in Nakuru. Cosmopolitan. Nakuru does not belong to anyone. You cannot come here and say this is Nakuru belongs to this community or this community. It belongs to all of us. We have quite a number of hotels. Naivasha is leading with quite a number of facilities. I think the reason why we are here, so that when you are removed from Tier 1 to Tier 2, and you had put up a lot of facilities, anticipating that you'll be able to make money. So that's why we are here, to put up our heads together. Sports tourism marathon is normally towards the second month of November every month. So we have quite most of the runners, some of the runners that are shining in the whole map comes from this county of Nakuru, our marathoners. Religious activities like Subuke Shrine, prayer centers. When crusades are here, like the mighty prophet, akikuja hapa kila mtu anashiba. Kila mtu. Watu ni wengi, mahoteli inajaa, wale wa mama wanauza chakula inajaa, watu wa bodaboda, kila mtu anashiba. So we talked about agriculture. They have some enablers. International standard hospitality, reliable trained manpower, conducive weather, sufficient affordable living standards. Remember, we have the geothermal here in Nakuru. We have also the Kengen. Remember that we are the only county with the highest number of water bodies. Nakuru has 6 lakes. From Nakuru town to Lake Nakuru is about 6 kilometers. From Nakuru town to Solai, 45.4 kilometers. From Nakuru to Elementaita, 35 kilometers. From Nakuru to Lake Naivasha, 97 kilometers. From Nakuru to Oloiden, which is next to Lake Naivasha, it's about 100 kilometers. From Nakuru to Crater Lake, 107 kilometers. So we are lucky. It's the only county with 3 national parks. Mount Longonot National Park, Hellsgate National Park, Lake Nakuru National Park. So we're very lucky. This is Crater Lake, for those who have never been there. This is the most, it's a beautiful sight. That crater is about 4 million years old. It's been there for ages. The green that you see is the food for the flamingos. That's our Lake Nakuru, home of flamingos. We have the Hyrax Hill. It's a prehistoric site. We have the Menengai Galtera, which we did hiking, I think it was 2019. Agritourism, Kerusoi Tea Estates, very beautiful. Lake Elementaita, it's also a Ramsar site. Kariantusi prehistoric sites, very close to here. So Isambu Wild Conservancy. This is where you meet with wildlife. Oldonyo Eburu, a scenic site. Kikio Wildlife Conservancy. Lake Naivasha. Mount Longonot National Park. Hell's Gate National Park. This is where the love story started. I went there and was listening to the story. Mwanaume anajenga nyumba kabisa, alijenga for 7 years the first house. Akaleta mrembo kumuonyesha, mrembo akamwambia hii nyumba inafaa kuwa ya kuku. Jamaa akakasirika, akaanza kujenga for 15 years. He put up this castle. Kwenda kuleta mama akamwambia hii nyumba inakaa kama ya farazi. The guy decided not to get married. And I was wondering here in Kenya, mtu akwambie ati kama ya farazi. Njoro River Caves. So members, Nakuru is the county to be. Nakuru is our county. It's a very rich county. As we say, it is the county of unlimited opportunities. The key thing, even as we have these resources, and as we forge ahead, capacity building is very key for our members, because the services that are offered in our facilities should be able to measure to the great county that we have, customers that come to our facilities on a daily basis. And remember, the service that we give is normally, it changes. At times you see a waiter is serving 4 tables. 3 tables are telling the waiter, thank you so much for good service. 1 table is telling the waiter, go to hell. So it changes. It is not static. So with those few remarks, Chairman, I want to give it back to you so it's our county. Members, let us ensure that we guard it jealously. Anything that comes to our county, it's a county to invest in. Thank you so much, members.
Thank you. I was observing how you were following keenly, because it seems like some of you didn't know Nakuru this way, especially the map. Umeona your map? So unaenda to page 1. Inakaa kama the map of Africa. Most of you didn't know that we have 11 sub-counties in this great county of Nakuru. Look at this. Look like the tilted map of Africa. And I know it's an old map when we have districts and divisions. But one of the major strengths of Nakuru is that the main infrastructure, which is road A104, cuts from the top all the way to the bottom. It starts from Naivasha, comes through Gilgil. Then Nakuru, this municipality is the city now. Those who have been asking, where is the boundary of the city? Or where are the boundaries? This is the city. Cuts through Nakuru Town East, Nakuru Town West, goes through Rongai, and exits out of Molo and Kuresoi North. All that is a major artery, which is an international infrastructural artery. When you look at this map, you look at the diversity of opportunities here. I was privileged to do something for the county, your county, Nyandarua. And I can tell you, they only have 5, we have 11. They have 5 sub-counties. And it gave us a lot of difficulties to get what to put where. But when you look at Nakuru, we are endowed. So if we are to harness the potential of this Nakuru, it's a lot. It's a lot. Look at Naivasha. It's almost like a county. Eh? Look at the size of the city vis-a-vis the size of Naivasha. That's why sometimes back we needed to divide Naivasha. It should be into 3. You have, you have over 250, I think 250 elected, the registered voters. Well, a place like Subukia, where is Subukia? Should be here, yeah. Subukia. This is almost a quarter of Naivasha. 41,000 registered voters. 250 registered voters. But they come with their strengths and weaknesses at the same time. So when we are talking of tourism in the whole of this county, we want to invite you to help us. Now that you've seen the image, help us come up with ideas. Because this is the little we could put up together and bring together. But you are here with different mindsets. We want you to help us so that we can, in what we call marketing, we can package this as a destination. When we discussed with the former CS, Balala, he told us, and we showed him this map, and he was just keen as you are keen, and he told us that in Nakuru, we can have a county which is geographical, but we can still have destinations, unique destinations inside this county. So you need to pick what kind of destination is in Gilgil and what is the strength of Gilgil that we can amplify and bring traffic to that place. And when you look at this and you compare with, it's good to also to go international. Look at what Saudi Arabia is doing right now. They are building a city, a 9 million, they want to transfer 9 million people to a city in the desert, which is an AI. It's an AI city. And they said by 2025, they would have already moved like 4 million people to that city. So what can we do with all this potential that is here? And that's why I want to now connect with, I want to skip agenda number 2 for a few minutes because agenda number 3 is very small. Agenda number 3. I hope you are, do you have agendas with you? You do, yeah? Yeah, because I send them. Yeah, on WhatsApp. Agenda number 3 is the status and the future of maize tourism in Nakuru. And as we look at this map, there are other 46 maps like this that make up Kenya. This is just Nakuru. If we extend it now to the whole country, you see different shapes of other maps. And looking at Nakuru, don't think that everybody loves you. And I'm saying this because there's something I'm doing for Nyandarua and for Bomet. And I can tell you the feelings. This is competition. It is competition. People don't like while others are succeeding. It's just natural in man to be envious, to be jealous. People are not happy that Naivasha, Gilgil, and Nakuru City are taking almost, let's say, around 52% of all meetings in this country. But is it our fault? It's not. It's the capacity and the ability to position ourselves. And because of that, you'll find that if we don't speak with one voice, then other voices will speak out there. And whatever we've been holding as a cash crop may just disappear in thin air. So when you look at what works in Nakuru, which will not be able to work in any other county, is the maize tourism. And maize tourism is meetings, incentives, conferencing, and events or exhibitions. That is what is working in Nakuru. And I took my time on Saturday to go around several facilities. I came to Sarova here. Nikatoka, and I looked at the parking. And I remembered something that used to happen in the US when Akimani with Walmart, where the director of Walmart would fly around the US looking at the Walmart parking. And if he happened to park his chopper in your parking, it means you don't have business. He should not find space where he can park or he can land. So you find that over the weekends and over holidays, Nakuru and some parts of Naivasha is a bit deserted. But when you go there during busy working days, the place is full. That particular place where you would drive in and drive out without noticing vehicles in the parking. Over the weekdays, it's full. What does that tell you? What is the indication of that? It is what is driving this sector is mice. And I believe strategy is what is working accelerated. Mice is working. Someone from KWS was to be here. I don't know whether they have come. They were to be here. We love Lake Nakuru National Park. And Duncan, you have a unit there. But you can tell me, can Lake Nakuru National Park feed all of us in Nakuru? Can it? How many people come to Sarova Woodlands on their way to Lake Nakuru National Park? Very few. So, what we have as adventure is the icing of the cake. It's not the cake itself. The cake itself is mice. And we will be foolish enough if we don't harness mice. If we don't harness mice, if we don't water mice and guard it, then we'll be in denial. Because mice is not, how can I put it? It's not natural. It's man-made. Mice is man-made. It's not natural. Adventure is natural. And with adventure tourism, people have to come to consume it at source. But mice, if you joke with mice, it goes. The same meeting that can happen in Nakuru can happen in Turkana. Yes, the cost will be different, dynamics will be different, but they can force it to go there. But they cannot force Lake Nakuru to go to Turkana. So we need to guard this one, which is man-made and which depends so much on decisions that are made by men. Why am I saying this? Because, and I know Mr. Kamani will explain this better, many years ago, when there was insecurity in Mombasa and political animosity in Kisumu, Naivasha was elevated into what we call Tier 1. Tier 1 is a category of meeting spaces that you get the highest daily what? Subsistence. In other words, per diem. So Naivasha was elevated. And because of that, investors, including Mr. Kimani here, found the reason to invest in Naivasha. Then came Sarah Serem with SRC. And he said, the reason why you are elevated is no longer valid. And you are not a city, you are not a county headquarter. So you need to be dropped, not to where you belong, to a county headquarter level. And because of that, there was a lot of change in business dynamics in Naivasha. When we go to agenda number 2, you will hear that was just a rehearsal. You will hear now what they want to do that will alter the landscape as we know it. And that's why, as Nakuru County Tourism Association, we ask people to always come together. We have volunteered for the last 10 years to ring the bell always and tell people, come together, come together. As an association, we only ask you to be active. We have so many members, 212. But most of them are passive. The active ones are very few. And we don't even ask for so much. To join is only 1,000 bob. You register that I want to be a member. To be an active member, it's only 10,000 per year. And we are able to work and speak so that we are heard. And that's why we are saying the status of maize in this county, which is our cash crop, number one, which gives us almost 76. When we were doing our research last week, we saw it gives us almost 76% of our business. 76%. And when I'm talking of 76, I'm talking of maize, which is meetings, incentives, all these things you see, Safaricom, Coca-Cola, conferencing, like here we are now, and events, including political events, including weddings, including religious events. All of them give us up to 76% of business. For example, May alone, Duncan, next month, which is in the next 2 weeks or so, we'll be hosting 3 major events here. 3. We have the County Assemblies Forum. How many? They have booked with you. How many? 2,500. 2,500 people are coming here. He cannot host all the 2,500. He will put up a big tent. Donald will be able to feed them, but not all of them, because they will be scattered all over here. We are having an event for schools that is coming 29th of this month, all day flowing into May. There are 2,000 coming to this city. And then we have the Madam Mayor, the Kenya Urban Forum. Kenyan Urban Forum is coming to Nakuru this May. How many people? 1,000 from outside, and many who are in the support. So that is where we are. But some calculation that may be somewhere may alter all that. And the reason being, not many people are happy that all meetings are happening in Nakuru. So we need to guard it. I know of some of the challenges that we are facing, because I have sat in some of those meetings, like this County Assembly Forum. I did a pitch with that caucus of speakers, and they were still insisting, how many beds do you have? How many beds do you have? Can you extend it all the way to Molo, to Subukia? Can you give us the beds? And we were able to give beds. And that is one of the challenges we've always had. Data. And because it is very expensive to get data, it's very expensive for someone to come and sit with you, count the number of rooms, how much you charge on average, the hall sitting capacity. It's not easy. And because this is not a full-time job and the resources are minimal, we have not been able to do it. What we normally do, we estimate, we get the hotels, we know how many we have and the number of rooms they have, but we don't have the accurate data that you can say in Sarova Woodlands they have 147 rooms. Right now, I know you have 147 rooms. I may not be able to tell your conference capacity, because like now, all this team, how many have been to this hall? Come on, you know tumkono. See? So if you were to count, we would have ignored this. We have been to the ballroom and a few other halls. So we need to get that data so that when we are arguing, we argue with capacity. And that's why someone like Titus, who is there, they are collecting data. They have partnered with us to collect data at their own cost. And that's why we always say, let's maximize on social capital. If somebody is doing something good that will help us, let us support them. So they will come to you to ask you so many questions. how many parking spaces do you have? So that when we are bidding, and we have discussed this with the National Convention Bureau, when we are bidding for meetings to come this way, then we are able to say, look at this, like now, how many people knew that Sarova Woodlands have an agreement with Nakuru Girls to use the garden there? And you can put up to how many in that field? 5,000. They can host up to 5,000. How many knew that Sawela now can host up to 2,000, 3,000? I know the president was there with the whole team. So you need to learn from them, because they don't have one single house to host all that. But there's a way they've been able to manage the kitchen, the dining area, and the sitting place. That is what we've been suffering from, because we are invited. I remember we were with one leader in Nakuru somewhere, and KRI wanted to bring a meeting here of 700 people. They wanted 700 people, round table, all this. And what came out of that leader's mind? No, we don't have the capacity. Iwatuna, please, Iwatuna. It was just like that. Off his mind. No, that one we don't have. It went to White Sands in Mombasa because of that capacity. Some of us, we have capacity, but we hide it. No, it's that mentality of competition. But you never know, maybe somebody is not interested in the meeting. He's interested in the accommodation for the support staff. He'll be fighting for that meeting to come to Nakuru. Not so that he can host it, so that all those drivers and support staff can go to their facility. And if their facility has only 20, 30 rooms, they will be very happy that there was a big meeting in town that gave them that capacity. So let us guard these mice. Because if you don't guard it, this thing you see blossoming everywhere will not be there tomorrow. And that's why at this juncture, I want to go to agenda number 2. And I want to, before I invite Mr. Kimani, who is one of our officials in our branch in Naivasha, I want to introduce the agenda, which is a communication that came from Salary Remuneration Commission. I want to explain who they are. It's one necessary evil, very necessary evil that we have. You know, sometimes you have to live with some people. Salary Remuneration Commission is a commission that regularizes allowances and salaries in civil service. And they're the one who regularize per diem and travel allowance. So they will tell you if you go to Uganda, it's different from South Africa. They will tell you. Even locally here, they came up with a criteria to, based on the standard of living and the status of different destinations, they came up with different categories, and Mr. Kimani will read them out. Different categories. If you are here, you are paid this as an allowance based on your job group. And most of the people are in job group K to N, somewhere there. So you find those are the people who call the shots, not the bosses. So they will say, if you are in Malindi, if you are in Busia, this is the match that you get. It helps. But they have a lot of powers that they can alter that. And when they alter, it affects a lot of businesses. We have engaged them severally in different forums. From the time they came into place, should be somewhere in 2012 or 2012 or thereabout. We have engaged them. But right now, to them, it may be just a regulation, but to us, it's a lifeline. What they have communicated is a lifeline. But I said, you all went to school and you did English. Maybe I did not understand that English in that letter. So help me today to understand whether it is a threat. Because when I did my SWOT analysis on tourism status, I found it as a threat, not an opportunity. But some people, there's somebody who told me, no, it helps. But anyway, you'll understand the letter. I wish the letter can be projected. You look at it and you tell me. And at this time, let me welcome Mr. Kimani to come and take us through the agenda number 2.
Good afternoon. My name's, again, I will just repeat, is Peter Kimani Getao. I'm from the Naivasha Tourism Association, which is a branch of the Nakuru County Tourism Association. And my chair is not in the country today, so I came to represent him. The other members of the committee, 2 of them were committed, they wouldn't come, but they sent their greetings to all of you. Mmesalimika. Kwa hivyo nikirudi niwasalimu, si ndio? Asante, pokeeni salamu. I'd like to have the map there, but again for Naivasha, for the Nakuru County. The map? In fact, it's just a small thing I just wanted to say there. Now that I've had the opportunity to look at the map that we have here, and I have seen it, I think Naivasha, as a Naivashan, I think we need now, it affirms our demand at the table in Nakuru. Hii map ni mzuri sana tumeona leo. Tumeona Naivasha, ni sisi tunajiwekanga chini. Leo tumejiona tuko juu kidogo. So I see where we are holding the whole place, and we are big enough, so we're very happy. But we're very happy to be part of this whole big county we call Nakuru. Very happy to be here today. So I think, Chairman, I would like to thank you so much. I think your effort and the effort of the NCTA, Nakuru County Tourism Association, has really brought this association very far. The advocacy part has been very strong, so we're very grateful. And just to go back a little bit, the issue of per diem for Naivasha, which has been described by our chairman here, it happens that Naivasha, as the town itself, was always put in tier 1. And out of the blues, we found a letter that said we had been removed from tier 1 and we were taken to tier 2. And as a result, many of the organizations that were coming to Naivasha started asking us, when you put in tier 1, let me just talk a little bit about the tiers. Tier 1 means that if you're an officer with a class, let's say job group K, and you get 20,000 shillings, if you travel to a particular region, you get that amount. If you travel to a category 2, say for example, category 1, you get 20,000 in one, job group K, you travel to one area, you get 20,000. And I have that. Let me just look at that. This is. I was just giving an example. So what it means is that if you're in cluster 1 and you're a job group F, you'll get 22,000 when you travel to a particular area. If you travel to cluster 2, you'll get 18,000. And if you go to cluster 3, you'll get 14,000. So as a result of this, a lot of people started to opt to go to other places that were still in category 1. And that is where the battle started. The association, the NCTA, engaged our governor, then Mheshimiwa Kinyanjui. We engaged Mheshimiwa Balala. We engaged many government officials to try and understand why they had done this. But the simple reason we got is that they just wanted to harmonize, and it was their duty to harmonize this. So we went back to them and fought many times and told them the government has a duty that when it makes investors invest in a particular region, like Naivasha or Nakuru, and they come there and commit that this is cluster 1, investors look at it as a thumbs up to say, come and bring your money here, come and invest here. So we wanted to understand why a board like the SRC would just wake up one day and decide to move this to cluster 2, whereas all these investments that had poured in Naivasha and continue to pour in Nakuru, and then we were moved out of cluster 1. But we never got an answer. So we had many consultations, many meetings, and then, while we were fighting all this, we had a big stakeholders meeting, and the SLC commissioners came, and we had a big meeting in Naivasha, and they promised they would get back to us. Now, when they went back, we got a letter from them. So I'm going to read this letter from them. We were thinking we were waiting for an answer, but the letter we got was dated 16th March 2023, and it was addressed to Mr. James Mwangi, Chair of Naivasha Tourism Association, And what it said was request for stakeholder submission on the proposed review of daily subsistence allowance, local and foreign travel in the public sector. Pursuant to the Salaries and Remuneration Commission SRC mandate, and in line with the principles set out in Article 230, Sub 5 of the Constitution of Kenya, 2010, and Section 12 of SRC Act 2011 SRC, all that, proposed to review, set, and advise on daily subsistence allowance, local and travel rates in the public service. The purpose of this letter, therefore, is to request your institution to provide written submission on the proposed review of daily subsistence allowance, local and foreign travel rates in the public service. And they enclosed that. The submissions should be addressed to the Commission, Secretary, CEO, and a soft copy sent to this. And of course, we reviewed this. We consulted widely with the chair here and the committee, and we wrote back to SRC. And the letter I'm going to read is the letter we wrote for SRC. But before I read the letter, maybe I should explain a little bit the context of this letter. 1 second. When we got this letter, before we replied to this letter, an article appeared in the Business Daily. And this article was very key in us replying to them. Because this article said, it was the headline in the Business Daily here in Kenya, and it said, SRC seeks to raise per diems by up to 67% in the fresh review. And I'll read just a little bit, some snippets of what the letter said here. The agency wants to change the current practice where daily travel allowances are pegged on job groups. So the Salaries and Remuneration Commission, SRC, plans to increase the travel allowances for state officers attending official duties in towns outside Nairobi, Kisumu, Mombasa, and Nakuru in a move that would pile pressure on the wage bill. Now, just remember, we had gotten this letter from the SRC on the 16th of March, and then on the 24th of March, this article appears in the paper. So we are thinking, we have requested for Naivasha to be reinstated back to Cluster 1, and now we get a letter that now talks about how they want to change this. Now, SRC is proposing to scrap the current rates, which have been in place since 2017, and replace them with new ones that will favor state officers traveling for official duty outside cities, Nairobi, Kisumu, Mombasa, and Nakuru. So, after reading through this whole article, which I will share, which was in the Business Daily, which is you can download also, we found out that what they were planning to do is to say that the determinant for how much you get on your daily subsistence allowance is going to be based on your job group, and is not going to be anymore based on the town you travel to. And when we sat down, this puzzled us, because what this means is that a small town, and I don't want to talk about a small town, a small village or a small town in Nyandarua, in Kinango, if somebody from Nyandarua, they're holding a meeting and they want to do it in a small town in Kinango, and their job group is category H, it means because of the job category, once they've moved just from one small location within the same county, they'll be able to get the job group allowance, which is 22,000 or 20,000. And what this actually means is that the cake that we have truly been enjoying here in Nakuru, Naivasha, Mombasa, Kisumu, due to the heavy investments and due to many other things that we'll discuss today, will now not be available because people don't have to come. The reason being, if I can travel just a few kilometers away and I get the same and I get the per diem, then there's no point of taking the meeting to Naivasha. There's no point of taking it to Nakuru. But we had issues with this because when you tell us that with all the investments we've made in Naivasha, Nakuru, and all the other places, the per diems will be the same, it's very puzzling because on the other side, we looked at something here which is the Labor Act. We call it the Labor Act, or we call what? Banacha. Do we call it the Labor Act? So we looked at the Labor Act. And the Labor Act is very clear that if, and I'll just read one of them here. If you are a general laborer and you work and you live in column 1, which is categorized as Nairobi, Mombasa, Kisumu, and cities in Naivasha, you are supposed to pay a general laborer 15,201 shillings as the minimum wage per month. But if you come to other categories like column 3 and column 4, you find that the same general laborer, you are okay to pay them 8,109 shillings, which is about 40% less. So the cost of doing business in these areas that have been clustered as category 1 is very expensive. So when we consider all these costs of doing business which are higher in Naivasha, in the cities, in Nakuru, Kisumu, Mombasa, we realize that we are going to be very disadvantaged because people can travel anywhere and they will get the per diem, and yet those localities don't have to pay their staff, the people who work for them, as much as we pay in our towns. And so our issue with SRC, which is something we're trying to address now, and that's why we have this discussion in this forum today, is to ask, then there should not be, if the wages in our towns are going to be higher, then you need to standardize all the wages across the country, and then the cost of living is the same. Because according to SRC, and this article that they did here, and the letter that they sent us here, we found out that as regards the foreign travel to Uganda, to Tanzania, to South Africa, to cities across the US, they actually decided to maintain that when you travel to these towns, you will get per diems that are different. If you go to New York, your per diem is like $400 or $500. If you go to Lisbon, it's like $380. And the reason why they do this is because of the cost of living. The cost of living in all these towns is very different, and doing business in those towns is very different. And that is what had advised what they were doing in Kenya. So for them to propose that they are going to do this, we feel like we are going to be very disadvantaged. That is why we feel that the General Assembly that we have here today, we need to discuss this matter. But before we do that, I will read the letter that our association wrote back to SRC, and then we'll discuss the matter. The letter we replied on the 24th, as soon as we read the newspaper article on the 23rd, said, request for stakeholder submission on the proposed review of the daily subsistence allowance, local and foreign travel in the public service. We refer to the above matter and to your letter dated 16th March 2023, together with the enclosed documents, and write to you as follows. Our association has perused the proposed review of the daily subsistence allowances, local and foreign, in the public service, and consulted our members on the same, stakeholders widely, and a meeting held on the 24th of March at Sawela in Naivasha. We now write to inform you that upon due consideration of the document, our association has no objection to the proposed new rates and structure for daily subsistence allowances, foreign travel rates, as set out in Table 3. We agree that different cities worldwide should have different rates based on factors such as the cost of living, etc., etc. And actually, they did increase all the foreign travel for the other cities in the world, which is reflective of the higher cost of living worldwide. Regarding the proposed new rates and structure for daily subsistence allowance, DSA, local travel, rates are set out under Table 2. We are opposed to your submission because not all towns and cities in Kenya have the same cost of living, wage guidelines, rates, permit payments, etc. And as such, cities with a higher cost of living should attract a higher DSA. In the case of Naivasha specifically, our submission to the Commission should be to reinstate Naivasha back to Cluster 1 for the following reasons. Because our request from the very beginning has always been to be because there was no reason given why we were moved to the other cluster. We always wanted to be moved back to cluster 1. But instead of doing that, now this comes. So now we have answered them and asked them to kindly review and consider, because of the following reasons, why they should leave everything else as it is and move Naivasha back to cluster 1. On December 10th, 2014, SRC issued a circular upon undertaking detailed studies that placed Naivasha in cluster 1 together with other cities and towns. Even before the SRC was established in 2010, Naivasha was still at cluster 1 classification as per the standards set by the Ministry of Tourism and Wildlife. There has been a very heavy investment made into facilities, people, and the ecosystem to support the development of Naivasha as a MICE destination in Kenya and the region. Interfering with the classification will have many unintended consequences and implications such as loss of jobs, loss of investments, if the facilities, growers, and suppliers in Naivasha are not financially sustainable. And then we went on, like Naivasha is a Ramsar site, and we talked about that. Then point number 5, during a meeting hosted by the then Governor Nakuru County, His Excellency Lee Kinyanjui, in which the CEO, some commission, staff of the Cyrus Commission, and Naivasha tourism stakeholders were present on Monday, March 28, 2022 at Lake Naivasha Resort, the SRC officials acknowledged receiving the stakeholders' concerns. In an article that appeared on the Standard newspaper on Monday, September 5, 2022, it was reported that the rates in Cluster 1 were enforced to those in job groups U to V, including speakers, OMPs, clerks of the Senate, clerk of the National Assembly, all these grades here, to Nairobi, Mombasa, Kisumu, Malindi, Kilifi, Lamu, and Kwale, Naivasha. Thank you. So I'm just about to wind up. Okay, microphone was far away. Kindly accept our remarks for taking into consideration the concerns raised by our members in respect of your request for stakeholder submissions in the proposed review and daily subsistence allowances for both local and international travel in the public sector. So there we have it. The issue of ADM that started as a small issue with them downgrading us in Naivasha to cluster 2 now seems like it will boil down to all of us just being in one cluster in the whole country. And we just feel, as the officials and the members we've consulted with, that we need wider consultation on this matter. So with that, I'd like to hand over back to the chair. I'll have much more to say as we continue. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Bwana Kimani. That is a brief of agenda number 2. Now, this juncture, I want to open the floor. We have already covered agenda number 1, agenda number 3, agenda number 2. Before we go to the AOB, I want to open the floor. I don't know whether we have another microphone. I want to open the floor to tell me how you have understood the whole of that explanation, and whether in my SWOT analysis, is it a threat or an opportunity to have everybody in this country in one class? Whether you are in one small village in Ambassador's Place down there. And you see, why, as I said, the pace, why I was a bit worried is because there is a lot of political jostering on this. If I want people to come to my village and I am senior in a big office in government, I will not approve that meeting until you make sure that the venue is in my village. Doesn't matter whether we will be under a tent or under a tree. That meeting will happen in my village. So there is that risk of abuse where people will draw mice towards their place even without capacity per se. So I want to open this floor. I don't want to go one by one. I want to open it randomly. You can just raise your hand. Kirwa is there.
Okay, for me, what I want to understand first is it a proposal? Does this request, do we still have a room to debate on? Or it is something that decision has been made?
It is a proposal. They requested us to submit our submission, written. But those who have been in government, they know. Once it is a proposal and they are requesting for public participation, it means it's a serious thing. It can go either way. And many a times, if the public participation is not sufficient enough, the proposal normally passes. Because what we are supposed to, when you look at that letter, they say they have intention. I think that's the preamble, that's the opening. They say, pursuant to Salary Remuneration Commission mandate and in line with the principles set out in Article 235 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010 and Section 12 of SRC Act 2011, SRC proposes to review. So it is their proposal to review. Unless they get objection, it means the proposal will go through. Kirwa. So that's where we are. Yes, Balozi. No, kindly, because we are live. We are live on Nakuru TV, so okay. Let's use the microphone.
This presentation by Mr. Kimani, if I got it right, and from what I know, having been in the government for many years, 6 years, I think there's something that is not very clear, and that SRC does not clarify to you. Why am I saying this? You see, Naivasha is not Nakuru. It's very unfortunate in a way that Nakuru is a county, and at the same time, it's a Nakuru city. Naivasha got its fame as Naivasha. So you see, as an ended, like an ended on its own. Now, when these considerations are done, for example, you have had a stress daily subsistence allowance. That is what is given to civil servants when they are traveling. There is international and there is local. Now, if, for example, you are going to New York, what it defines what you get is the cost of living in the United States. Yet, somebody else could be going to Washington or to Los Angeles or to let's say Houston, all these cities in the United States, but they are lumped up together. It's not said you are going to New York or to Washington, you are going to the US. So you get that allowance for the United States. Now, the difference comes if you are to be deployed in New York or Washington, D.C., or Tel Aviv, or Geneva. Sorry, I have to tell you this because so that you can look at it. Now, what the same SRC does is they take the cost of living of these cities, the cities which have almost the same cost of living, bunch them together, and that becomes, let's say, a category A. So, for officers being posted for those cities in category A, they have that special allowance. Then others are posted to cities categorized as category B, others category C. But they did away the category C because like you did in Naivasha, those who are being posted to African missions, to Asian missions, also complained because they were in category C. And then so it was decided they have category A and category B. So category A are those cities with very high cost of living. New York, Geneva, Tel Aviv, and so forth. So that is an example that I'm giving. Now, when you come now to the daily subsistence allowance for local travel, for those who are traveling local. If you are going to Mombasa, you could be going to Mombasa Ndiani. See, Mombasa Ndiani is also called Mombasa generally, although it is in Kwale. Or you are going to Lamu. I don't know, Lamu is different. Now, if you are going to for example, to Ndiani, somehow it is not said that you are going to Kwale, you are going to Mombasa. So you have an advantage of going to Mombasa because it's a city. So I don't know whether there is a way that as you make the next request to SRC, that they would look at Naivasha, and like you emphasized, because of the heavy investments there, that instead of separating it from Nakuru, they lump it up. Only Nakuru, and because of course it is Nakuru. Chairman, that is the only point I wanted to clarify, if I have made any clarification at this juncture. Thank you.
Thank you, Balozi. Your sentiment. This particular battle that is here is now national. So the thing we need to come up with here is whether it has the capacity to alter tourism as we know it here. And that's why I asked naively, is it an opportunity or is it a threat to our existence?
What I think, when the board sits, or that commission, and they are looking at what they should add to the civil servants, they look at the cost of living. All this is based on the cost of living. So when you look at the cost of living in Naivasha, they are not
Yes.
Chair. I can just talk from here, correct? Ambassador Asante Sana. There's something I would like to read from the article the SRC wrote in the Business Daily, which they have not refuted or said it's was written in error or anything. And what it clearly states is that, let me read it, then you can see. The SRC is proposing a similar approach. And let me say this before I read it. When we got this, we sat as the committee. And so today I'm here just on behalf of the committee that is based in Naivasha, the Naivasha Tourism Association, together with this committee of Nakuru. So we sat down. So I'm reading and speaking on behalf of the committee. So SRC is proposing a similar approach for other job groups, opting to pick a flat rate that is equivalent to the maximum allowances, being what those on official trips to the 4 cities have been earning. Then it goes on. The minimum daily domestic allowance, it goes on to that. Then I'll read the last part. Civil servants in job group U2V and state officers in grades F1, F2, and E5 will see their allowances harmonized to 18,200, giving a 45% lift to officers within this grade, but with assignments in towns outside cities, headquarters, Malindi and Naivasha. So they clearly have put Naivasha here, and what they are saying is that they want one flat rate. It does not matter whether you're going to Nakuru, or you're going to Naivasha, or you're going to Nairobi. That is the concern of the association, that now Naivasha had been downgraded, as if that was not bad enough. Now we've gone to making it that every town gets the same. And remember, we just discussed about the cost of living, and I know you've explained the cost of living, but the cost of living as far as hotels are concerned and doing business in Naivasha are mainly as a consequence of the cost of food and the wages that they pay. Those are the two major components there. And the wages that we pay in Nakuru, in Naivasha, in Nairobi, are not the wages that will be paid in all these small towns, because the Labor Act clearly states that when you work in a particular town, and I just put this again, and I'll read just, even if you look at the cost of doing business in small towns, you'll see like Nairobi, Mombasa, Nakuru, Kisumu, and all this, you are required to pay somebody 16,417, whereas if you go to other areas, you're only required to pay them 9,370. And it's all categories across. So the cost of living, as far as hotels are concerned, building hotels there, doing things there, are much higher in those towns because the government has set a standard. So what we are saying is that our concern was we would like SRC to relook at this issue again, because we feel that our costs of doing business are higher. And it's not just because we are in the same country. We understand we're in the same country, but we are also different towns, and the Labor Act clearly demarcates all these areas and puts them separately. Thank you, Mheshimiwa. Just wanted to explain that. Yes, thank
you. I would want just to correctly just go to you, Chair. You said, is it a threat to us or is it an opportunity? It's directly a threat to our business in Nakuru. Why so? Because this meeting that comes to Nakuru now that we are enjoying that, I believe in this room, most of us are able to confess that since we had the city status, our business has never been the same again. So, the per diem issue that we are debating here, it's what determine where people will go for this meeting. And again, the other issue that we need to look at is some of these decisions are also political. The influence that comes with it. Chair said an issue here that probably I sit in a certain office and I want to influence some meetings to go to my county or my village or wherever. So how do I do so? I ensure that I have through my influence, I influence and make decisions that it goes directly to where I want it to go. But as of it is it now, you cannot, because the officers that are supposed to attend those meetings will still also want to benefit with the per diem. If you come to Nakuru, you get, for example, 22,000. But if you go to Nyandarua, you will get, assume 12 or 14,000 shilling. Definitely, you would also fight for you to be in Nakuru. But if I go to Nyandarua and I still get my 22,000 shilling, then that's it. I'll be okay to go to that county. But again, the other issue that why are we saying so? We are fighting for this because we look at where we are in Nakuru. What is our strategies in Nakuru? Why come to Nakuru? Facilities we have here. We have invested and have invested heavily here. Look at this conference that we are in right now. Sarova Woodlands, and when Chair asked how many have been here before, and hardly anybody raised up their hand, because this is a new facility. And what made them have this conference facility is because of the projection that they've seen in business growth. Otherwise, there would not have been need for them to do this investment on this side. So for me, we need to debate that and come strongly out here. It's not only Naivasha. We're not talking about Naivasha in this issue. It's now countrywide. And there's no way we could have a rate that cuts across whether you're in a city, because there are so many other dynamic.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Dixon, Karagitambu, like to say something?
Chair, I'm a bit lost, having worked in the civil service. I know you are always looking at where do I go for a meeting and get the highest. If we are saying that the CRC has recommended that or proposed that, irrespective of where you move to, it is your grade in the civil service that will determine how much you earn. That is to say, if you go to Kapenguria or Ramu, it will be the same with those who visit Nakuru and other cities. Is that clear? Now then, I think, with all due respect, this forum might not be able to penetrate. We need other stakeholders to come on board, work with other stakeholders, bring in the county government to help us push this agenda across. And also look at the national government who can help us, because it goes beyond Naivasha and Nakuru County. And you know those are the top, like I'm saying, if a CS comes from a certain village in Nyandarua or Ramu, you think you'll be comfortable not to get what he's getting from SRC rather. I don't think so. So, other than, I think we should concentrate on having Naivasha taken back to where it was and forget about where other matters are being. If we could have Naivasha upgraded to a city status, so that, like my colleague here said, we have Naivasha looked at as part of Nakuru City and explain why, justify that, it will be easier for us. But we are fighting to stop those top government officials getting what they are now being given by CRC, irrespective of where they come from. It will be very difficult. If I understand the argument well.
Yeah, you do. It's only that I need to clarify that what they are proposing, as we speak now, they have categorized destination into 3 major categories. Cities, which is cluster 1, county headquarters, plus Malindi and Naivasha as category 2, and then all other towns. So the bone of contention here is, and that's why they are not even interested now in elevating Naivasha, because they know Naivasha, Malindi, and Kwale have the same request because they were in category 1 before. What they are saying is, remove this classification. Remove it. If you do a meeting in Garissa, or you do a meeting somewhere in North Hall, and you do the same meeting in Nakuru, the allowance is the same. And the question we are asking now is, the dynamics of those areas compared to Nakuru here is different. And one major example is the wage bill. A waiter in those small towns, you can legally pay them 9,000 shillings. But here, the minimum wage is 16,000. So we are asking, if you distribute people everywhere, that you can do meetings anywhere in the country, whereas in some places people have invested majorly on that economic pillar, which is maize, what are you doing to them? You are destroying, because for those who do return on investment in a small village will be faster than people who have already invested in this place. And the abuse we are seeing we are seeing coming is where people will force meetings into their villages just because I can approve a meeting from where I sit. I'm in the procurement committee and I want to look good and I want to contest in the next general election. So I'll make sure that there is a meeting in my village that comes from my department so that people will see. But do they have the capacity even to host those kind of meetings? And what will we be doing to people who have invested in Mombasa, in Kisumu, in Nakuru here, and in Nairobi? That is the question. And you've asked a good question. Have we involved county and national government? Yes. We have expressed our fears and our sentiments to them. And we have told them that this proposal has the potential of altering. And I've said, I've done something for 2 other counties. There are some places where if you count the number of hotels there that have conference halls, you can count with your fingers. Whole county. Why? Because that is not their major area of investment. But in Nakuru County here, this is our area of investment. So we need to protect it. And the best way to protect it is to make it known out there. Because we have media here. Maybe what we are talking here, they didn't know about it. We will come later to shout when it has already been gazetted that the whole country. And the question I keep on asking, why is it that international rating and categorization was not altered? It's because they know it's different to be in New York from Cape Town. The same way it is different internationally should be the same way here. That when you, for example, if you go to a place like Mombasa, let's say, getting a room there, there is that minimum, that average rate per room. Average rate per room. You find the reason why they are given more is because the average rate per room, if you go out there in the street from your meeting in White Sands, the nearest place here could be around 4,000. But if you go to a particular village and there is a meeting next to that village, even 1,000 shillings, you have a very good room. So we are saying, if people know that coming to these places and going to the villages is the same rate, there are others who will say, let me go to the village because a room there is only 1,000 shillings. So the essence of us coming together is to lift our voices and say, we have an objection. We have an objection. So that even when they go to implement, they will know that there was an objection somewhere. It has not reached to a point where people will go to court. But at this point, because they are still listening, we have to give our views. I will need two more. James is there, and then Bwana Kianjui. And ladies are not talking today. So are you part of the of these people? Yes, James.
Hello, good afternoon. Now, actually, a point of correction. In the current, the labor, what I'm actually reading is the amendment on the labor law. You'll notice in, whether in the hospitality, food service industry, I will actually print out. You had read out the minimum wage is 15,000. Notice if I look at like Sarova, a receptionist, somebody housekeeping department, these are the major contributors in terms of labor. The minimum wage is actually 17,229. This, I am reading the amendment on the Gazette notice. This is issued on 4th of July, 2022. So if 60 or 70% of our labor force is at 18,000, you can imagine the bulk of the wage. That is why I concur with it should be looked at, because I can tell you, cost of operation for business has gone really high. So if we look at it, however much, even if we look at it from the Nakuru and Naivasha perspective, cost of operating business in Nakuru, and you know currently we are now Nakuru City. We have just opened in Eldoret. Eldoret is, we have a branch actually running on the 3rd of December. We opened our newest branch there. Eldoret is garnering for city status, which means we are projecting even as a board in our end, how will that affect us? Yeah, these are the realities of running business. So if we look at it and we say it's only in Naivasha, the reality runs across the country. So maybe you might look at it at an objective point of view, and as you are writing the letter, they'll be able to look at it conclusively and holistically, so that again we are able to survive. So
sure. It goes down to cost of running business. If that minimum wage is 17 plus, almost 18,000, how do you compare with that other village?
The chair, what I understand, to me it appears a national problem. It's not a Nakuru problem. And if it is a national problem, we need to join hands with other counties. We need to join hands with other tiers. Because when you talk about moving tier 1, tier 2, it means it is being moved from other areas, isn't it? So we need you need from us a recommendation, a rejection from this Nakuru count of this being moved from other towns, more towns. And to make it national, you also need to join hands with the other cities, because it's a national issue the way I see it. We are talking of, it is being moved from all over the country, not only Nakuru. But for our part is to reject. And to reject, we need also a support from other counties, from other cities, so that it can be very effective in the upper hand there. Because I can notice there's somebody with an interest. Maybe he has a big shamba in Nyandarua. He want to put up a 5-star there, so that he can be reaping from there. So this is a high time. We need to see these cartels, isn't it? Thank you.
It's true. It's true. It is cities against others. And we have tried to communicate with the other cities that suffer the same fate. But we were advised internally here that we need to start the journey. They will follow. Yes, once we start, it becomes a conversation, a national conversation, then others will give their views. Okay.
I think, Chair.
Mm-hmm. Yes. It's true. It's an independent body. But on the other side, they work for the good of us all, and that's why they have always given us platform. As much as it takes time before they make decision, we are requesting them that as they make these kind of decisions, then they need to know who hurts. Because that article on Business Daily says that if they implement that proposal, the allowances will go up by 67%. Allowances, they will go up by 67%. So, is it the intention of government to increase allowances by 67% when sometimes even paying salaries is a challenge? It's a question to ask. Is it from SRC or is it the intention of government generally? Stella, you are saying something.
First is to thank you, because this is a very critical conversation for us to have. And as NCTA, what I'm hearing is that we are going to be the pioneers in rejecting this and actually escalating it. And from the conversations we have had, the effects of this proposal by SRC, we are huge employers in the tourism industry. So we risk losing jobs for our staff. And I don't think as NCTA that is a direction we want to go. Number two, as he has said, is the high cost of doing business. We cannot, as NCTA members, already our salaries went up with the onset of the city, and then we are saying we will now not get additional business. We are going to be like Nyahururu. We'll be operating in the same standard. So that I don't think is acceptable as NCTA members. Then, Chair, you mentioned about the return on investment for investors in the hotel industry. There is no reason that an investor will want to come. He's already gone to Eldoret. So what is the incentive then of starting a hotel in the city? It means that we are now going to have hotels that are underutilized. So we have built hotels, and then we have rooms like this, the ones we are now discovering and saying we now go and collect data, and then we have no people coming to these hotels. And we are also going to be fighting among the residents here, our neighbors, to get business for the hotels. Then the next one is, I talked about underutilized facilities. Then what is the way forward? From what I'm hearing is engagement. It is engagement, 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 and pushing. P-U-S-H, push until something happens. So who is spearheading this, and how do we now do this? Is it engaging? I think he mentioned about engaging county government and national government, which you mentioned has already been done. So how do we move forward? Is it a petition that we now need to come up with from here? And is it collaboration with other like-minded cities so that we're all speaking in one voice? Because there's strength in numbers. Because as NCTA, the 212, yet only less than 10% are active. So who are going to champion this cause? Because the effects are going to be extremely detrimental to the industry in Nakuru and to the economic prosperity, which is already starting to peak in Nakuru. And we are coming from COVID. So now taking us back, and we are not fully recovered, I don't think is something that we should take lightly. So let's join hands and then let's move to the next level.
Okay, let's go now to the way forward. Yes, Francis, as we start the way forward.
Thank you, Chairman. Reading what is happening, I think as it was mentioned by one of the members, is that definitely there are interests within the local market, because you can see they have not touched the international DSA. They have just touched the local. I'm looking at, for example, in Zimbabwe, it's 488 USD on the capital, and then around 288 USD on the other villages, places that you go. Yet, in the local market, they are saying it's a flat rate from whichever place you are. But looking at it from where I sit, I think one of the things we need to be prepared with is what request are we going to make, or what submissions are we going to make to SRC as Nakuru people. And one of them is, should they insist on this happening, then deferring this implementation is critical. Even if it will be deferred with 10 years or 15 years or 20 years, I think it's something. I've seen bills that have been deferred from implementation. I think this one could be one of them. Then also looking at issues to do with international competitiveness. For example, Naivasha is ranked quite highly in ECA rankings. And these are some of the things we need to tell SRC, that should you remove this and make now Kenya a playground for mice, then you're removing Kenya from a very competitive advantage globally. Because you'll find now one hotel has been put in Naivasha, another one is put in Kisumu. So you don't have capacity to hold a very big event, because there will be no need of somebody putting up a hotel in Naivasha or a hotel in Nakuru, and then he prefers to put it somewhere else. And there's power in numbers. So if you have more hotels invested in Naivasha, what that means is that we're able to host a bigger event globally. So these are some of the things I feel we should, when you're doing our paper, we should point them out to SRC, that they are not just touching the local market. By touching the local market, they are touching the international market.
Okay. We are now on the way forward. What are we going to tell, what are we going to tell the country? Not just SRC, but we also need people to hear what is going on.
Chair, my take is that we should separate the battle from the war. The battle here is to have Naivasha revert back to its earlier status. The war is the proposal now by SRC. And that one is not easy. It's not easy. You need to involve so many stakeholders. So why don't we approach this issue that we fight for Naivasha to be reverted back to city status, as we also enter the war, which might take some time.
Okay, the one of Naivasha, we have already given submission. We have even had a sitting with them. SRC sent their commissioners to Naivasha, and we had a sitting at Lake Naivasha Resort. So
we have no battle.
No, the battle is there, but we have already forwarded to them, so we are waiting for their reply. But instead of reply, they say, why deal with Naivasha? Let's do it for the whole country. So as we speak, this letter removes that battle. With this letter, there is no need of Naivasha fighting again, because Naivasha and the Rakanidi will be the same. So we want to go to the way forward.
My suggestion would be, because now we are looking at the bigger picture, if SRC are successful in doing what they have already proposed, I think the best thing for us to do is to look forward, forge forward, and start the process by putting our county together. Because if we have the 11 sub-counties coming together and promoting within ourselves, and by engaging the parastatals or the local government that is in Nakuru, then I think we will not fail, because we will be promoting our own. We will not be going to other counties for those particular meetings. Because as you rightfully said, if I have a land and it's in the village and I want to put my people there so that they can earn that per diem, or I can get that income from their accommodation, then that means also as the county, we are supposed to come together, think ahead of what we can do of promoting our own.
I agree, Monica. I agree with you. But the question is, the playing field is not level. For you to host, the cost of hosting one person here in Nakuru for a day conference is different from the cost in a place just like Mairoina here in Nyahururu. So the cost of even license, trade license you pay here. A hotel like Sarawak Woodlands, Duncan will tell you here, should be around 250,000 per year for the trade license. That small village could be 15,000 per year. So when you look at the cost of hosting a person, and you see Duncan will be charging, is it for what do you call, Monica, full day, how much? 4,500. 4,500. If it is opened everywhere, who will pay 4,500? They will go to a place where they are paying 2,000. So what will happen to the business? Because there is no incentive to bring people here where there is an investment. If you are, yes, Bwana Patrick.
Thank you very much, Chair. And the organizers, my apologies one for coming late and being interruptive. Chair, with due respect, as much as I may have missed a few things, I did look at that report by the Business Diary, and at first it caught me off guard because it did not reflect the equity that the Constitution strives for. Because it is well known, just as you put it, the cost of an urban area, and especially when you attain city status, you are expected to foot more heavily in terms of sustainability alone than somebody else in rural area. That is true. So the logic that I lost out on is many of these places in the rural areas, even when it comes to water, they have their own water. We have to use tapped water, which sometimes we pay through the nose. I mean, among many other things. So I did not understand the equity that SRC strives to gain out of that. So maybe, Chair, I could have missed, but has there been any engagement so far with SRC on this? And if the engagement was about us as Nakuru trying to salvage Naivasha, did we trigger, are we the trigger of the same? And if we are the trigger, if we are to appear back again on the table with them and start saying, oh, we are sorry. If this is what you wanted to do, please, Naivasha, my sister, fanya hivi. Si unaona sisi wote tutaumia sasa Kenya mzima. Naivasha fanya hivi, we tulia kwanza, ndio sasa tukue on the level, on the same level playing fields. Because what is happening, and this is something I would like to alert Naivasha. Naivasha should not be celebrating if this happens. They have no reason to celebrate. These hotels and lodgings and everything else are mushrooming all around Nairobi. And there are so many. Past Kitengela like this, you have 50 plus on your way between Kitengela and Kajiado. Past at the river like this, just passing Bulolongo like this, there are over 30. Past Ruiru like this, you know obviously what's happening along. So this is a situation which is not favorable to the hoteliers today, and especially the established hoteliers. It is only going to be favorable if we are ready to dispose our businesses in the cities and then run with that wave. So the situation is much serious. The long-term effect of it is more punitive because it is not only killing our cities, because even these tourists, why should they come and face the hustle and bustle of an urban area while they can comfortably, you know, thrive in that bushland and have access to everything else? So, Chair, I feel that SRC should avail this letter, if at all, and if at all we have come across it, SLC should get to know that we are part and parcel of the stakeholders. There is something that SRC must always do before they finalize something. A few things they call clinics. It is during those clinics that they actually find favor or disfavor in whatever you have presented. So this engagement with SRC should be made by Nakuru, not just as a county, but for the good of the nation. Or else, any urban hotel is in trouble, and especially those in the cities. And the same situation, you are all aware, I am sure, that in Mombasa, civil servants don't spend in Mombasa Island. Si mnajua hiyo? Si wanaendaka kangambo hiyo ingine? Now imagine if they will earn the same. Even those now who have been favoring some hotels within the island, or even the Mombasa city, they will not stay there. They won't. So it is actually a very, very punitive action that does not foot the equity of the constitutionalism that SRC stands for. Thank you.
I think we are getting very good point for the way forward. It defeats the spirit of equity. And that's why even in government, we have places called special economic zones. Why do they zone those areas? It's because they are special in a particular way for a particular kind of economy or economic activity. So as we go to the way forward, and our secretary is here, we would like to capture those sentiments that, and Bonapatrick, as you speak, I know where you sit. I don't need to keep on mentioning. I know where you sit. And when we are talking, I know you can get even further information from where you sit. You can get further information concerning this whole thing. But what we want to do is to give a statement. And that's why even the media is with us here today. We want to give and make a statement on behalf of the stakeholders in Nakuru and Kenya as a whole, that this will be a departure from that spirit of equity, where people are encouraged to invest heavily in a particular line of economy, and then all of a sudden a policy comes and destroys that kind of investment. In Nakuru, we want to be known as the mice people, as the meeting people. In fact, our slogan is, let's meet in Nakuru. As a county, that has been our slogan. And even most of the families, they like having family meetings in Nakuru, because you always find a relative here, no matter which community you come from. So we don't want to destroy that. We want to, as Francis has said, you said in Bulawayo is different from other villages. That country you mentioned, Zimbabwe, the capital, is it Harare? If you go to Harare, it's different. And it's almost double. It's almost double. Why is it that Nairobi now will become equal to Mount Elgon? For argument's sake. So I think we allow the committee to come up with a statement, even as we go to the AOB.
Chairman, before you go to AOB, I was just asking myself, and I'm a businessman in Naivasha, and all of a sudden, Naivasha is elevated to Tier 1, and I see opportunity. And I go out and look for money, and I come and invest. Big investment like what is happening in Naivasha. Then, 3 years, 4 years down the line, announcement is made that Naivasha is being dropped to Tier 1, to Tier 2. Now my question is, I have gone out and I invested a lot of money. I have borrowed money, I have invested. Is the government willing to compensate me? Because the decision that I made, and maybe I was consulted for hotels, and I have somebody who built the hotel 10 years ago, and he's still paying. He's not even halfway paying. So I'm saying, if I had looked maybe 15 years, 20 years down the line, and now that announcement has been made to declassify to cluster 2, is the government willing to compensate me for loss of business?
No, they are not. We have investors here who have invested in Naivasha, and they can tell you the government will give a directive, and whatever aftermath of that, they won't be there. Because that's where now you become private and they become public. So the only thing we can do, and okay, one thing I like about SRC, they would have done this without writing to us. But Patrick, they are the ones who wrote that this is what we want to do. So they requested for submission, which in other words, we call it public participation. That's what they are doing. And I think even for the media to capture this in the daily, business daily, they must have sent maybe the same letter to either the media or someone that the media picked from. So it is a national debate, it's a national conversation. We may be thinking we are the only one giving this this feedback, but there are others out there who could be thinking contrary or thinking in the same line we are. So, yes, Panakanji.
That gentleman who said we should get it from the horse mouth, not through writing, but maybe we engage them through talking. Have you done that?
Yes, we have. Okay, as a branch in Naivasha,
yeah,
there's a letter which was read out today that was sent back to SRC from Naivasha. But as general stakeholders, we are also supporting with a different letter that says generally as a county, not just Naivasha, but generally as a county, we are opposed to that formula. And that's why I want to pose now the question. Because it's either we agree with what SRC is proposing or we reject it in totality.
Rejection.
That's why I'm asking, I want to pose this question. Are we in support of the proposal to review and set advice on daily subsistence allowance rate in public service, which will affect us, or are we against? Are we for or are we against? Those who are against, by the show of hand. I hope it's well captured. Mwangi, are you capturing well? 100%. Unanimously, they have rejected those proposals. So our secretary out of this meeting of 24th of April 2023 at Sava Woodlands, we as tourism stakeholders in Nakuru County reject those proposals by SRC. Thank you so much. Let's go to AOB. AOB. I know AOB is meant to be noted, but we will see whether we'll open for discussion.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening, Christopher.
I would request as we reject in totality, we need also to do a press conference so that it can reach earlier than before the letter.
Yes, that's why the media is here. After this, we are doing one press conference. Bwangi, you let us know whether it's outside or inside. Just get a good place where we can do that press conference. Thank you, Christopher. Yes, Patrick.
Chair, I appreciate this forum. Maybe a request, if we could also be having an engagement of this nature with our service providers. especially the mandatory ones. Tourism levy, tourism trust something, tourism something, and the music, copyright, Kenya Power, Nawasco, among others. Because it's like as much as they are supposed to be serving us, I am afraid to say, and not as a government officer now, but I'm as a Nakuru person and a fair investor, that they often treat us like non-entities. And we need to appreciate that the government has actually been pleading, even with the hardcore stakeholders like ARA, not to pick a hammer and hit your head, close your business, and then start demanding money from you. They are being encouraged to engage more in talking. This talking, I am afraid, it is not happening here in Nakuru. Those guys are still behaving. I am sorry to say, if there is anyone, any representative by any chance from any of those service providers, tourism levy, you know, that attitude of coming to you like you are a criminal and that they are here, they are your bosses, and you know, it should be reversed. It should be reversed. And I'm afraid now that you are just mentioning that you know my office, I'm afraid to use it. I feel like you know, they are our sisters and brothers in the same situation. So please, I encourage the organizers, just invite them and tell them to come and share a happy moment with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I know we use this meeting as an in-house meeting. Many people wanted to come, but because of this agenda, which did not affect all of them, we decided to lock them out. But we are organizing another meeting with the leadership of the county government, and that is where we are going to invite all these stakeholders. Thank you for mentioning them, Kenya Power and the rest. And for your information, Bwana Patrick is the Secretary for Collection Services, if you have not moved from. Oh, you moved from that office. He was in charge of prisons. So when you said your office, I thought you wanted to take them to prison. Thank you. Thank you so much. So Mr. Patrick Mwangi is the Principal Administrative Secretary, Office of the Deputy President. So let's appreciate him. Let's appreciate. Congratulations. I didn't know you moved. I thought you were still in prison. Oh, sorry. Sorry for that. I think here you will help us more. In prison, I didn't have anyone in prison that you could help. But here, I think you help us more. Mr. Kemani.
I think many good things have been said and will continue. But I would just like to say something that when we think of Naivasha and Nakuru, sometimes people would think there's competition, but what we need to know is that the more we build better facilities, we have better capacity, we'll be able to hold bigger meetings. And this is a fact that has been proven when you go to, like for example, the US and you go to Las Vegas, you find very, very many hotels there, and they keep on building more and more. You go to Bellagio, the hotel has like 4,000 rooms. You go to MGM, there are 5,500 rooms in one hotel. The total town has several 100,000 rooms. But they could not get all the hotels in one town, so they built another hotel, another city called Reno, Nevada, that also has about a capacity of another 100,000 rooms or more. So believe it or not, if these big organizations want to come to Kenya and do big meetings here with a capacity of 10,000 people, they cannot come to Naivasha, they cannot come to Nakuru. So it's good that the capacity continues to grow. Better facilities will be better for us. And I truly believe what is happening is like a speaker has said today, which is very positive, that the more we make this whole region to become the My Center, many organizations will be attracted, because they will come to Kenya, do their meetings for 3 days, and 2 days they can do a safari to Mara, or they can do it wherever else they want to do it. So it's one destination that actually offers people the opportunity not just to do MICE. Like Las Vegas, you go there and play in the casinos. That's what attracts people. And then when they're done, they do their meetings, then they play in the casino. Here we are telling you, you come to Naivasha and Nakuru, this county, you can do all your meetings for 3-4 days, and then you do safari of a lifetime, even for 3 days or 4 days, and get it done. Now, just one last thing I'd like to say that we've mentioned today, that all the pronouncements by governments really have a lot of influence. And this is a small thing just I want to add. We noticed this in Naivasha. Several years ago, the government built the SGR to go to Mombasa. And it's really a great thing. But what we noticed is that once the SGR commenced operation, the weekend business that used to come to Naivasha went down by about 70% or 80%. And this is a fact from all the hotels in the association in Naivasha. They will tell you that. And, you know, so government will do things, and yes, they're good things. They're very good for Mombasa. But we also realize that the fare to Mombasa is cheaper than going to Eldoret now by train, correct? So that's why sometimes government doesn't have to be in business of doing things like that, but the government will do what they have to do. So what I'm saying is that this issue that the government has done, the SRC, which is our body that works for all of us in this country, will have major consequences. Unintended or intended, they'll be there. Just like we saw in Naivasha, it happened, and we had nothing to do about it. Asante.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I would like to take the last two in the AOB before we close the meeting. We had said we would close by 4:30. It's already headed to 5:20. Any other? Yes, please.
Thank you, Chairman. Mine is just to encourage, because the much I know about Nakuru is well known as a destination in tourism. So I don't see why we should look upon ourselves that we cannot make it. I will encourage you, Bwana Chairman, forge ahead. We are tuko nyuma yako, and we will win. Advocate as much as possible. And I would like also to congratulate you the steps you have taken as a committee, and all you have done is good. And we will support you until we win. We cannot underrate ourselves. We are well known in the whole country that we are in the center of the country. Our attractions sites are well known. So we cannot belittle ourselves. We should be encouraged. Thank you.
Any other?
Thank you. And AOB, that is a very important communication that has come through. SRC have communicated when we were still here. And they have said it's not yet formal. Formal communication has not come out. So we are timely. We are timely. They have said formal communication has not come out. They are still reviewing. So whatever we are doing here helps them in the review of those proposals. Thank you so much. That's a very good information that we have gotten. Can we close the meeting? I hope we have not locked anyone out. So in conclusion, I want to encourage each and every one of us to go through the 4 pillars that make our association stand. The first one being marketing. We want to market. As much as we are fighting with all these battles, we want to market. And that's why we want to bring together, we are in talks with the county government to bring together, like you have seen in the presentation, we want to bring together what is in Nakuru. And that's why we are supporting that young man who has volunteered to do that. So when he comes to Soisambu, he'll get all the details. He'll go to Boeha, get all the details. So next time, and we want to have our next meeting in July. When we meet in July, then we'll have one place where you can enter and see everything, see the capacities, and see the products that we have in Nakuru. And the capacity building, we are working closely with even other institutions. That's why we have RVIPs here. The Dean of Students is with us here. And the AOB, we have a proposal to work with those institutions that are helping us. Kenya Utalii College has always helped us with refresher courses. There are those who have joined today. We have sent people to Nairobi today to do guest relations and the others. They will be there until 5th. And then MDP is coming in June. And when I attend MDPs, very few people apply. These management development programs, they happen in Nairobi for 4 weeks. And we are favored by Utalii because we host them in Nakuru. So most of the people, when they apply from Nakuru, they get those opportunities. When we were there, I think we were only 3 from Nakuru out of a class of almost 40. So I want to encourage people, fill in, apply for those positions in Kenya Utalii. So if RVIPs want our support, then they need to support us. You need to get refresher courses, train our people. Then we are able to absorb your students into our hotels for attachment. We absorb students from so many institutions which don't even set foot in Nakuru. So we want now to do a barter trade. We take your students, you also help us with training, whether they will be internal trainings or will be collective trainings. We want to do that. And then still on marketing, we were supposed to do Love Festival last month in March 24th and 25th, but we looked at the dynamics at that time and we deferred it. We deferred it to a later date. So most likely it will be coming in September, but we are going to share more details on that. On advocacy, we want to encourage you to join the association fully, because not every day we'll be doing these meetings. But whenever you support the association, then we are going to have oil and energy to push, even to do meetings and to do events, because we thrive through events and through this kind of collaborations. So we encourage you sit in seats of authority and power. Let us do all we can to support this association. And I want to point out, for example, Joseph, that team from Soisambu, the Soisambu children, they have been with us for the last 10 years, continuously. They have never missed any, whether it's Mbweha, whether it's Soisambu Conservancy, whether it's Serena. They have always been with us, always. So let us follow that spirit. Look at Kongone. Shadrach Yegon here was our first assistant, should be secretary, assistant secretary in 2012. All the way from Kongone. And Kongone is far, Mr. Kevani, you know. And he will always find time to come and be with us. So let us support this association. And finally, we are working very closely with national government, especially Tourism Fund and TRA, to enhance and get a good structure for B&Bs, because they don't even have a name. Some of them call themselves Airbnb. That's a company. It should be in the US. But because they were the ones, they were the first. It's the way, it's just like the way people think that every breach is Jik. Not knowing that Jik is a company. Every toothpaste is Colgate. So there is a working formula that's being formulated, because B&Bs are coming to complement. They're coming to complement. They're taking spaces. Yesterday, I received a call from some of these big offices. They wanted 18 B&Bs in Nakuru. And they called in the night. 18 B&Bs. And and they were very specific, 2 and 3 bedroom, 2 and 3 bedroom. So it's one thing that we cannot do away with. So I would like to stop at that. In our next meeting, we'll discuss more about B&Bs, and I'm happy because we have someone from Shaumut Suits here. Shaumut Suits is a typical B&B. It's a wonderful facility right in town, opposite the judiciary, and they run wonderful. In fact, they are regulated now. They have license from TRA, they have license from the county government, and they are offering a unique product there. Very good, right in town. So finally, I want to encourage each and everyone to register with Sarova. There was a form. There was a form there for registration at Sarova Woodlands. So let us all be upstanding as I invite one lady, Jacinta, kindly close for us with a word of prayer. And immediately after this, we are going for the press release. Then we are going to be hosted by my namesake here, Duncan, for a high tea and refreshment out there. We'll be coming back here, or it's down there. The tea is right outside here, but we do the press release and then come back here. So Jacinta, help us with the WRC 23rd to 25th. We have WRC. I don't know why they are not involving stakeholders this time. Yeah, so are they coming to Sosambu? Okay. Through Sleeping Warrior, or they're coming through Lanet? Okay. That's how. So I didn't want to communicate because I don't have full information. But since you have mentioned WRC Safari Rally 23rd to 25th of June. Thank you so much. Jacinta. Thank you. Let's go down there we're going to the swimming pool area for the press release. Okay, members of the fourth estate, we have gathered here as stakeholders in the tourism sector, drawn from the entire Nakuru County. Nakuru County has 11 sub-counties, and we consider tourism, especially maize tourism, as our cash crop and more a key economic pillar. After agriculture, tourism is the second largest earner of Nakuru GDP, and that's why it stands at a very critical position in the economy of this county. Tourism is driven mostly by the stakeholders, private stakeholders, and with me here today we have investors in the tourism sector, mostly in hospitality, drawn from as far as Naivasha all the way to Molo. And we have come together to look at the status of tourism in Nakuru County and the future of tourism also in this county. And we have discussed so many things in our meeting, and one of the things that we would like to bring to the attention of the nation and more so all the stakeholders in tourism is that maize is one of the fastest growing aspect of tourism. Initially, it used to be what we call the B&B, the bush and the beach, where bushes, where national parks for reserves used to drive a lot of traffic in tourism, and then beaches along the coastline. But things have changed, and now what is pushing tourism is what we call MICE, the meetings, incentives, conferencing and events or exhibitions. And that is what has made Nakuru be a key tourism destination. If you look at Naivasha, Gilgil and Nakuru city in particular, 83% of our business is in MICE, where most of the organizations, whether corporate or government or non-governmental organization, they prefer this destination for their meetings. And this has really helped to grow this county and grow the revenue of this county, and also help us get good investors who have come to invest in Nakuru. If you look at the last 10 to 15 years, there has been a lot of growth in infrastructure, especially in hospitality, where all the major big hotels in Nakuru have come during this time, and most of them, if not all of them, depend solely on MICE. But there is one thing that we would like the nation to understand, that in MICE, people go for meetings in different areas based on different reasons. And most of the meetings that come to Nakuru, especially the whole of Nakuru, come here because of something we call categorization. This categorization is done by Salary Remuneration Commission. And this Salary Remuneration Commission gives or outlines what we call the daily subsistence allowance or per diem that will be given to any officer who attends a meeting, a MICE program in any area. And that's why they have categorized them into three. The Tier 1 or Cluster 1, which is for cities, Mombasa, Kisumu, Nairobi, and now Nakuru. Then we have Tier 2 or Cluster 2, which is for county headquarters, plus Malindi and Naivasha. And then we have all Cluster 3, which is all these other urban centers or towns. So the remuneration or per diem allowances are different in those categories based on the living standard and the infrastructure that has been put in those areas. Nakuru enjoys both Cluster 1 and Cluster 2. Cluster 1 in Nakuru city and Cluster 2 in Naivasha. And that's how tourism has been able to grow in this area. Naivasha used to be in Cluster 1. It was dropped to Cluster 2. We have been fighting with SRC to reinstate, because there's a lot of investment that followed that categorization by SRC of Naivasha to Cluster 1. So when they were dropped to Cluster 2, they have seen effect of that, and we are still in discussion with SRC. But SRC now has sent a letter to our branch in Naivasha saying that they want to review
the classification of per diems in all cities, towns, and villages in Kenya, because they do that for local and the international travel. They have not touched international travel. For example, if you go to Zambia, in the capital of Zambia, they will give you a particular allowance, and then when you go out, the allowance will drop by close to 40%. In Kenya, they want to make it uniform, that when you go to every part of the country, the per diem will be the same. It looks okay in the face of it, but we as stakeholders, and that's why we had this meeting, we have objected to it, because different places in this country have different infrastructure. Different places in this country have different living standards. For example, you find the way we pay our support staff here, for example, if it's housekeeping or if it's F&B service, you'll find that the minimum wage here will be 17,000 plus, but in another place you'll be allowed to pay even 9,000. So if I am paying 17,000 plus here for a waiter or a waitress, and someone else in the village, in one village, is paying 9,000, then there is no equity at that point. That's why people who are coming here, because the standards are high and the costs of hosting one client for one simple day conference is different from the way you would host that client in a different place. That's why we insist that SRC should maintain the categorization. Even as we request them to upgrade Naivasha back to where it was, they should retain, so that we have more people coming to this place, going to Kisumu, going to Mombasa, because there is infrastructure for that. When you equalize everything, it will be prone to abuse. People who sit in those procurement committees, and I know I come from a small village and I want to impress my people in the village, I will make sure that that meeting will go to my village. Not considering whether there is capacity, not considering whether it's safe, not considering the kind of service that you get there. That's why we are requesting SRC, as much as they have written to us seeking our advice and also our submission. We have written submission and we address you today saying that is not the way to go. You will kill tourism the way we know it, because right now without mice there is no tourism. And at this point, I want to welcome Mr. Kimani Gitau, who is in Naivasha, in our branch in Naivasha, to also give his remarks.
Thank you, Chair Mwangi, and the entire committee for the great conversation that we've had today. Just to echo the words of our chairman and the whole committee, I'd like to say that Naivasha is very centrally, Naivasha and Nakuru as a county I think for SRC, it's a big saving for the government when meetings are held in a central location in the country. Apart from all the other points that we have, we believe that that's a good point to consider, because it saves the government money when things are done in one place or in several places in the country, instead of saying that we can scatter it everywhere. I would also like to say that the MICE that is developing in Naivasha, Nakuru as a county is starting to attract international conferences, conventions, and meetings, which is very good for this country. As you know, we rely a lot on tourism. MICE is coming, and when all these people travel to Kenya to have these big conferences, let's say, for example, Microsoft comes to Kenya, they host their meetings in Nakuru, Naivasha, there are 5,000 people. These people will do their conference for about 3 days, and thereafter, they will do safaris that will take them to all parts of this country. And we think it is very important that we build this MICE destination. It is not just good for Naivasha, it is good for our foreign currency reserves, because as we know, we need a lot of it in this country so that we can stabilize our shilling against the dollar. I think it's important that we look at this sector as one of the stabilizing factors, and MICE is growing in Kenya. And what we'd like to ask SRC is to consider our request, because our request has merit. We have had discussions with them, and we truly believe they will consider this meritoriously, and we're very grateful. Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe Madam Stella. Madam Stella is the chair of the City Board and also an affected member.
Members of the Fourth Estate and the Nakuru County Tourism Association, I think our chair has rightly put it, that the proposal by the SRC is going to greatly affect the businesses in Nakuru. Nakuru was conferred city status on 1st of December 2021, and with that many people have invested heavily in Nakuru. And one of the implications is, as an investor, the question will be, then why come to Nakuru city? Why not go to Nyahururu or any other smaller towns and take my investment there? Because without the MICE, as the chair said, it means that we are going to have reduced investors coming to Nakuru. And remembering that Nakuru is one of the hubs for investors in the country. So we are urging SRC to seriously reconsider that proposal, and we are going to continue engaging further, because this is the beginning. It is not the end. We shall continue having these engagements because we are passionate about tourism, and we are passionate about also creating employment for our residents in Nakuru. Thank you.
Maybe to finish, so that you look at the trickle-down effect of this particular process or review, is that when we are hosting, like Naivasha, now they could be able to host up to close to 6,000 people in a day, because you find a facility hosting 2,000, another one will host 500. Nakuru here, like this coming May, the month we are starting the other week, we'll be having the County Assemblies Forum, close to 4,000 people. We'll be having Kenya Urban Forum, still in the same month, close to another 3,000 people. Then we shift. We have one international meeting coming end of June, close to 1,000 people. We shift to Safari Rally in Naivasha and part of Elementaita. That is an international activity, close to 10,000 people. All these people, they come to Nakuru, and what they consume, for example, the food stuff we cook in all these hotels, they come from our farms around here. And as you know, Nakuru is it's #1 producer of food in this country. So we support even the neighboring counties like Nyandarua and Laikipia and even Baringo here, because we get food stuff to feed all these people in this place. When you look at the transport sector, transporting all those people to Nakuru, 10,000 people in a week to Nakuru, then the transport sector is also gaining. The fuel industry is also gaining. So this may look like just a normal process in government, but it will have major effect. And if you look at that article from Business Daily, should have been of 24th or thereabout of last month, it says that the per diem, that simple review will increase per diem in the country by 67%. So is it something that the government would like to do, to increase per diem when the economy is at this state to 67%? It's a question that I would like to pose. Thank you so much.
Perhaps one question touching on the issues of tourism and of course the entire sector. Last year the government ministries and departments were ordered not to carry or do meetings in five-star hotels, these big hotels, and they were directed to hold meetings in
we say it's double tragedy, because when government reduced on MICE spending, it affected us. Now this is another one that has the potential to cripple us even more. But the future of this industry is bright, very bright. I can tell you, as long as people have stomach, they will still eat, they will still sleep, and they will still meet. So as long as there is need for people to gather, and once you gather, you need food, you need accommodation, then this sector it's on the right trajectory. And if you look at hotels, especially in the 80s and the 90s, they were not, look at those big hotels, they were not concentrating so much on MICE, because there was nothing much then to warrant people to meet in hotels. But now most of developed countries, they have developed through meetings, and every sensible government knows you cannot develop without meetings. That's why the hotels come to bridge that gap, because government don't have their own hotels. Even the few that they had, they could not run them very well, because the government is not in the business of running hotels. Hotel business is in the private sector, and that's why we are saying that as much as we are in the private sector, government should protect this private sector by creating a conducive environment for this business to thrive.
As a new level of protests are coming,
yes, we can say we have felt, because we depend so much on what we call traffic of people. So if people will not be able to move freely because of one political reason or the other, then it becomes difficult for these MICE we are talking about to take place seamlessly. So that's why every simple or easy calculation politically affects us. Just like COVID. When COVID came, there was restriction of movement, and that's how we suffered. So any action or inaction by government or by political prayers, it affects us also. Okay, thank you so much.